Welcome to the Joy Hour podcast. We are back today. I'm extremely excited. Have a good friend of mine on today, Terry Yoffe. So glad to have you here.
Same here. I am thrilled. I'm thrilled to be in the spotlight with your wonderful signage there.
Well, I'm
That is gorgeous.
I'm really excited that we're on and all the technical difficulties have been worked out. We definitely we've
Exactly.
had some challenges this morning, but here we are and everything works. And this is only the second time we've had it with awesome new signs. So thank you for mentioning that. But the earbuds today were giving us some troubles, but I'm glad this has worked out. You look beautiful in your blue
Thank you.
top there today and your smile as always. But so excited
Thank
to have
you.
you on. I've been looking forward to this. And here we are on Monday, kicking off the Joy Hour podcast with Terry Yoffe. I'm going to give you an introduction here, and then I just want to jump into hearing more about you. I know we had some fun on the phone a little bit ago, and I'm just excited personally to get to know you more today as well. So Terry Yoffe, executive business coach, coaching in many different capacities, so much that I know you've been doing through the years and continue to do. TV show, you have your own podcast, and I just think that's commendable to continue to help so many others and being able to do that many things through the years. But I just, on this podcast today, it's about you, and I'd like to learn more and hear more about you.
Oh, goodness. I'll give a quick backstory and then I'll just move forward. I think if anyone would have told me in my backstory that I would be where I am today doing what I'm doing, I would have had two comments. One, you're crazy. I can never get to that. And two, I always knew inside of me that I was meant for more than where I grew up and what my circumstances were. Always. And I think that was a driving force for me, even though I didn't know it. I think on some level, I grew up in a moderate environment, unhappy parents, and a mother that was narcissistic in a lot of ways, but in some ways was very giving and very loving. And my own struggles and challenges, I stuttered. And certainly my struggles and my challenges in life, until one day I think my life has had several trajectories. One was I was going to get married at an early age, and he broke off the wedding, which was heart-wrenching to someone that thought nobody was ever going to love me.
Right.
And instead of doing the usual, I kind of surprised myself. I took my money and went to Europe for 2 months.
There you go.
And I think without thinking, it was independence, which I really never thought I had. And to go away by myself for 2 months was like, whoa. And came back and did whatever. The second was I moved into the city. I lived in Queens, and I grew up, and I had an opportunity to move into the city, New York City.
Okay.
And boy, did I jump on that. And that really took my life in a very different direction. I was able to be free of a mother or anyone. I could create my own environment. And I spent years growing up doing things I probably wouldn't tell anybody that I did. Really, but you know what? It was part of who I had to be to grow up, and I did. And the other thing was I found an incredible Freudian analyst And I spent 7 years, 3 times a week on his couch, really, sorry to say, regurgitating my underpinnings
Right.
and letting the walls come down, which was very painful, very challenging. And I think a part of me thought, if I could come out of this, I could do anything.
Right.
And I kind of meandered around work-wise. I was in the fashion industry, which was perfect for me. I always looked good, dressed well, and I fit in, but I was never happy underneath. But it was a place to hide, so to speak. And then I got fired a few times, and I kind of picked myself up, and whatever door opened, I went through it to make money. That was it. I did all kinds of, some real estate, some this, some that, whatever door opened, other than selling myself. That I didn't do.
Right. There you go.
Have to clarify that.
Well, at least we know how far the story goes. It
Right.
could have got close, but at least it stopped somewhere.
No.
I know.
And another, I actually met someone and wound up getting married. I never thought I would get married. Never. And it happened. And then the next trajectory, and I say this because it's like a platform, and I think this has been my life. When a platform shows up, you can either jump on it or you can walk away because, oh my God, fear, what would happen? You know, it, like with everything, the opportunity to go to Europe. Most people at my age would have said, oh, I'm in too much sadness. Why am I going? What am I didn't. I just did it. Moving into the city, I couldn't wait. And then I had an offer to go work at Women's Wear Daily, which was a big deal back then. I had no sales experience whatsoever. She said, I'm hiring you for your fashion experience. I said, but I can't sell. She said, you'll figure it out. And I could have walked away. That would have changed the trajectory of how my life was going to go. Instead, I said, okay. And in 3 years, I took a $600,000 territory to $1.3 million.
There you go. Nice.
And from there, I went to Condé Nast. I did phenomenally well. I was a really good salesperson. People liked me because of who I was. And my career took off. I did very, very well. And somewhere along the line, my husband had been wanting me to go into my own business, to be a hired gun salesperson. And I kept putting it off, probably because of the golden handcuffs.
Right.
And I finally said, you know what, it's time. I want to play in my own sandbox. And once I made that decision, I got some offers, and off I went. As I say, metaphorically, I got into my little rowboat and kind of started leaving the shore of what I knew, working for a company, getting paid, and all of that, and kind of drifted to my next shore, which was my own business in advertising sales. Did phenomenally well for a number of years because I had a great reputation. And then that landscape dried up, and now what was I going to do? Whoops. You know, I had to look around. I thought then I'd go back to school and become a therapist, given all the analysis I had done and knowing my own mind. Everyone's is the same. It's just a piece of machinery sitting on in a first computer.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out, and I stumbled on coaching. Never heard of it. I was a quintessential networker. I found it, and I said, okay. So I went back to the basement, as I say, somewhat, took the coaching course. Then I went for my certification, which was 6 months of intensive work and a written and oral exam, which I passed, and had a new career, but still was selling advertising space until I could start to figure out where am I going to find clients. You know, I'm known for sales. I'm not known for being a coach.
Right.
And things started working out. I joined the International Coach Federation in New York and went from secretary to president of the chapter and loved that. By then I had a coaching practice and loved being in the front of the room, as I say. I really did. And again, never did I ever think I'd do that. And also I had been part of an organization called AWNI, which no longer, they've changed the name. I helped co-found a mentoring program, which I chaired and ran for a long time. And it became the gold standard of mentoring and was one of the key programs in the organization. And I coached. And as I said, when I was part of the ICF, I did interviews. They didn't call it podcasting then.
Right.
They called it interviews, TV, you know. I did interviews, and I'd say around the pandemic, I thought about podcasting. And as it turned out, somebody had me on their podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And in 22, I launched my podcasting business. And that's a little over 2 years. It's doing very, very well. And here we are. Not sure what's next, but for me, it's about creating change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've been doing that since I've been very young, maybe in different formats. And it's become my passion, helping people with the podcast Extraordinary Work, conversations about creating change. All the people I get to interview have all created change in their corner of the world.
Mm-hmm.
My coaching is all about creating change with people. And my TV show is Coaches Creating Change. And that's only have the ability to listen in New York City, because it's a New York City-based channel.
Right.
Creating change is where I'm at. And that's my passion. That's my purpose. So here we are.
Here we are. Let me ask you a question about that. I'm just going through my mind right now on creating change. So when you meet people and for the first couple of conversations and it comes around to creating change, do you sense that people hesitate because when you admit that you need to change, maybe you're also admitting mistakes or failures? Like that's a mindset change, right? I've met a lot of people that say, I don't need to change anything. I love who I am. I love where I am. Myself personally, I love change. Change has helped me a lot, and I want to continue to change for the better. But just that word change, if you could talk on that for a minute. You've worked with a lot of clients through the years. Do you understand what I'm asking there as far as the pushback that people might have? Yeah.
Change can be so small as smiling at someone on the street who's unhappy. You could change their day in an instant.
Right.
I was at the grocery store and came out, and there was this really elderly woman looking for a cab, and I helped her hail a cab, helped her in with all her groceries, and she said, "Thank you so much. You're creating change in an instant.
Right.
It doesn't have to be major changes like climbing Mount Everest." And people, I think, are afraid of the word because they say, change. I don't need to change. Well, what do I need to change? Right there, somebody needs to change something.
That was me
know,
for
when
most of my life until 2 years ago. That was me. I was fine. I was perfect. I loved, yeah.
So, or to enhance their lives, to, I add, make a difference, make an impact. And there are people that are not interested, and that's okay. They're fine retiring and going to the clubhouse and playing golf or pickleball or something like that. And maybe if pressed, they might say, "Oh my God, I would love to figure out how to make a difference. What can I do?"
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a key point is what can I do to make a difference for somebody else? And then the question is, well, why would I? And that's where it comes to selfless instead of selfish. And I think a lot of times when it comes to finances, we grow up, we get a job, we need the money, we work real hard for the money. And, at some point, we get to retirement or we get closer and maybe we've got a nest egg that has made us very comfortable. But to what good is it unless we turn around and really use not just money, but our resources, our time? So many people, nothing wrong with pickleball, nothing wrong with golfing. But I know what
Absolutely.
you meant is if you spend all of your time and resources on yourself, is that going to bring real joy? Is that going to bring real contentment with what we've done in the world to smile at somebody, to open the door for somebody, or to teach a class to the next generation, or to do a podcast to inspire change, to constantly reinvest? If nobody reinvested into you, where would you be? If nobody reinvested into me, where would I be? And that's such a big part of what I know you're doing with the coaching, with the podcast. And I just encourage you, just keep it up. Just the world needs to hear, and the world needs to be more open to doing some self-analysis and changing. And I'm sure a lot of it came from those hours you spent on the sofa 3 times a week and changing yourself through a period of time where you had to dig deep on the hurts that happened in childhood. And I thank you for sharing that, because that's so much of what I see is people hanging on to these hurts from childhood, and they don't want to change, because if they change, it might mean they have to address some things they went through in childhood.
Right. Give up
Mm-hmm.
things. People are in jobs they hate. And, well, why would I leave? It's comfortable. It's the comfort zone. They have the blankie and the milk and cookies. That's how I describe it.
Yeah.
But nobody grows.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to come out of the comfort zone. As I say, it's like holding on to a trapeze. That's comfortable. But when you want to go to the next trapeze, you got to let go. It's the letting go and the limbo is where the challenges are.
Oh, you got me there. I'm right in the middle of that. Yeah.
Look, I have stuff going on. Doesn't mean we don't.
Yeah.
I got my own little bag of tricks that is coming to the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
But and people are so afraid to let go of that trapeze. Oh my God, what happens? What if I fall? What if I crash? What if I die? What if? Well, what if it works out? And it's that limbo of being willing to be in that place of not knowing and being willing to believe that you can get to that other, and I'm using my hands to
Yeah,
get to that
I'm
other
feeling it. Yeah.
to get that other trapeze.
Right.
It's anything. If you want something, you have to change what you're doing to get it. So it's the letting go of your beliefs. It's the letting go of the fear. It's the letting go of the known. You know, societal norms are you get married in your 20s, you have kids, you get a job, you make money, and then at 60 or 65 or whatever, you retire. That's the trajectory. I never followed those norms because I got married late. I didn't get married at 20. I was supposed to, but I didn't.
Right.
And
You went to Europe instead.
I went to Europe instead.
Yeah.
And I haven't retired. I mean, I'm doing my own thing. I'm an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I think in my mind, I never followed those norms, whatever those meant, because I wasn't part of it. I thought I wanted to be. I thought I wanted, when I was going to get married, the white picket fence and the 3 kids and all of that. And in therapy and in later years, I realized I probably never wanted to get married because I kept picking men that weren't available.
Yeah.
And I don't think I wanted children. And when I did get married, my husband had 3 young daughters. So, you know, many years later, they're all grown up and there are grandchildren. So he was married before.
Right.
And I think I came to that I think if I didn't go to therapy, I would not have gotten married.
Mm-hmm.
Because subconsciously, I don't think it was something, you know, when you live in a bad environment, for a kid, well, what would be the point? All I wanted was my independence, which I didn't have at home. And that's why I fled, for my own independence.
Yeah.
So
I hope you don't mind if I use that trapeze analogy. I'm just sitting here still thinking, if you picture yourself on that first trapeze and you're swinging, then you're swinging back and forth, right? Until you let go and go to the next one and the next one and the next one, then you get somewhere. So I think the question that went through my mind is, where do you want to go? But if you stay on that same trapeze, at some point, I've never done one, but I got to imagine you're going to come to a stop or a standstill where you're just hanging there. So taking that risk and letting go and grabbing it, then you get that momentum to keep going. But none of that can really be achieved unless a person spends time really in therapy, in reading a lot of books and saying, where do I want to be? You know, like that whole, you know, take your life and look at it a year from now. Okay. But also look at it 20, 30 years from now. What do you picture is success for you, and what's going to bring you that fulfillment? But it is so easy. The golden handcuffs you mentioned, you know, you get into a job, and I think the biggest thing that keeps us stuck in our jobs is our bills. And those bills are created by what we created. We wanted this, we bought this, we wanted this, we bought this. And so then we feel trapped in this, well, I know how to make X amount per year, and I know that I spend this much. So now I'm stuck in this job that I hate. I make $100,000 a year or whatever, but I hate it. When really you want to jump into this other career that you think might only pay 50 grand. Well, you can't live on 50 grand when you've been used to living on 100. But I want to be an artist. Well, how do I do that? I want to be a teacher. I want to be a chef, you know, or whatever these different career choices might be. I want to be a coach. I want to be, you know, whatever it might be. But so many of us, I know I've had the same career for 30 years doing construction. And for the most part, other than economy going up and down sometimes. I know what construction is going to provide for my family. I have a security blanket. What'd you say, milk and cookies? I've had a milk and a lot of cookies for most of my life. 30 years is a long time to do the same career, but I'm right now, Terry, on that point of reaching out and about to literally just let go. I mean, any day now, any week now. It's definitely this year where I'm finally letting go of a 30-year construction career, and I'm making that leap. And I am scared because falling's gonna hurt, in a lot of ways. But I know I'm taking a lot out of that. You don't mind if I use that analogy with talking? Okay.
No, of course
I've
not.
never heard that one. I cannot say I've ever heard that
Oh, it's
one.
something I've used years ago.
Mhm.
I have a whole bunch of really cute, fun things. I mean, but yeah, it's about where do you want to go or who do you want to be
Mhm.
in a year or 2 years? What's going to fulfill you? I mean, if the construction company isn't where you want to go, yeah, think about where do I want to go
Mhm.
and who do I want to be in getting there? Actually, I don't know if you know Vin Infante. I met him at a CLS dinner, the past one,
Mhm.
and we just had a conversation today. But at the bottom of his emails, he writes this incredible blurb, quote, about going for your, I'll just paraphrase it, go for your goals. However, who do you become when you get to that goal? If you've got this goal, hypothetically, of being president,
Mhm.
and you're now, I don't know, whatever, well, you can't become president just by moseying along. You have to grow to become that stately person.
Mhm.
So it's more about you and who you're going to grow into and the journey of getting to that goal.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. Sure, it's scary. When when I left Condé Nast, I mean, my husband was working, so it's not as if I was alone.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I could have done it if I didn't know I had my husband
Right.
helping me. So, um, but the journey is the journey, and I try to change every year.
Mhm.
Change my thinking. I change my look. I change because I change my thinking.
Mm.
What did I learn this past year? Who did I have to become to change?
Right.
So if we're all growing, hopefully, and some don't, but those that continue to grow have new thoughts, have a different mindset. It's not a fixed mindset, it's a growth mindset.
Growth
And
mindset.
I
Yeah.
think that's what kind of keeps me going.
Mhm.
I change. My thinking changes. My uncovering changes. So letting go of one trapeze, no big deal.
Mhm.
What am I going to learn by letting go?
I love it.
So,
I know I just joined a group recently, and you've been involved a little while, but it's helped me quite a bit. CLS, and I think that's so important for the listeners that might be in a period of time where there's a desire to change. Maybe you're feeling the pull to step into a new area of life, but the circle that you're around every day of your life, your family, your friends, your current local community, where you live might be naysayers. They might be people that if you were to share your new goals with, they might look at you like, you're going to be an artist, you're going to be a podcast host, you're going to be an author. So be careful when you share with people close to you that they don't look at you and say, no, 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 you're just, and then that can discourage you. But you step into a room like CLS, and again, I've just joined, but I've already felt a lot of
Right.
encouragement from everybody there that says, no, you can do this. And I can see this in you. I can see this talent or this skill in you. You've got to work it. It's like a muscle, but they have been full of encouragement one to another, not just during the meetings, but even connecting with them offline and doing phone calls and one-to-one sessions. But when did you join? What would you tell the audience about your experience on CLS?
I don't know how. Over a year ago, I don't know how I connected with Craig on LinkedIn, or I really don't know, but we connected and we had a conversation. And I said, why am I joining CLS? I've been there, I've done that. As I said, I'm the oldest person in the group. I have a lot more experience, and I'm being humble. I mean, there's no ego here. And maybe there was at that moment. He said, look, you never know, give it a whirl. I said, okay, because there was a part of me that said, I don't want to join a group where I will be the grandmother of the group.
Lots of years of experience that you bring
Right.
too.
And I did.
Yeah.
And I did. And first of all, I've become friends with Craig. And I go to the meetings. I learn from that, and mostly the people like you. Most of the younger people who I've been on their podcast, they're so adorable and they're so talented. I learn from them. And the ones I've connected with, it's like Jill. She said, I am so inspired by you. Not everyone is like you. And I get that from a lot of the younger people. Please keep it up. And it's really wonderful because, as you said, my friends, I take a medication, my mouth is very dry, so I apologize, are retired.
Right.
And so, one of my friends works at the Met, and she loves it, so she's doing something. A few do things, but every time I say I'm going to do something, their eyes roll.
Yeah.
You know? And I think my husband thinks, okay, what is she going to come up with next? You know? And I adore the people. I'm going to the dinner this Saturday. He did one a while ago.
I'm so wanting to be there. If I could just jump on a plane, I'll be there, but I just came back.
Yeah, it's hard. And I tossed around going, but it's his 39th birthday, and I couldn't be there. I said, yeah, I'll come. I met people last time. It's a nice way to meet people, and for me, the energy of younger people is so awesome for me that it adds fuel for me.
Right.
So, because I'm not around younger people that much, other than my kids, you know, my grandkids who are doing amazing things. All my friends are my age and retired. So here I am. year and a half later, I just enjoy the people I meet. And I've made some connection where we're supporting each other in something.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's great. It's really interesting. And I would encourage you to really get to know people. I set up meet and greets
Mm-hmm. Well,
and have done that.
we did a meet and greet just a few weeks ago, and I still remember our phone call and some of the topics, which we'll probably touch on today. But not knowing a person and jumping on that first call, I think the important thing is to not have any expectations, to just
Right.
let people be people. It's a big population out there, and you meet some people, and very quickly you can feel kind of energy, or some people. I was reminded of this term last week, energy vampires. There's some people you'll meet that they will actually take the energy out of you, or they'll take,
Oh,
or you'll feel when
mm-hmm.
you get done with a phone call or a one-to-one with somebody, you might feel discouraged, you might feel discouraged. And others, you get off the phone and you're just like, that was the funnest conversation I've had all
Mm-hmm.
day. And so
Right.
when I jumped on that phone call, that Zoom with you, again, didn't know you, didn't know where that we had no agenda. We hadn't emailed each other about any agenda or details. Of course, I knew you were a coach. I thought that might get brought up, and you didn't. I think at the very end you said, "Hey, if you know anybody interested,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do." But that was beautiful. And so I did my research after that on the coaching side, and I'll be in touch with you on that as well. But we really just got to know each other on the phone. We talked about everything from some childhood experiences to some current day experiences, some weaknesses, maybe some failures, which I love about when I talk to people, is that in that first 30 minutes, if it's all about our successes and it's all about our wins and it's
Oh,
all about me and I, then it's a kind of a turnoff to me. I really enjoy the relationships that in the first 30 minutes there can be some transparency that goes, hey, like me, my story, of course, I went to rehab 2 years ago and it saved my life. I'm blessed
mm-hmm.
and thanking God I'm alive because all the drugs and alcohol and
Mm-hmm.
how many times I could have
Right.
lost my life. And I share that very quickly with people. And some people kind of, whoa, why are you telling me this? But I want the relationship to be real or to kind of not be at all. And I don't mean that wrong. I love everybody, but I don't have a lot of bandwidth or time to have conversations just about um, things that are, the
Inconsequential.
there's the word. Thank you. Inconsequential. Thank you. I need to increase my vocabulary. You got that perfect word for me. Thank you. But yeah, I want it to be relevant. I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better father. I want to be a world changer with people that are struggling with addictions or suicide or things
Right.
like that. That's who Tom is. And I don't really have time, you're right, to talk about the weather and sports and all the things I can't control in life going on in the world right now. But you did share those things with me, and we jumped into a topic about phones, which we might as well jump into. So the biggest drug out there is the phones. I talk about that a lot, and yeah, yeah. But we have some ways of doing that. I think to this week we're
You
gonna
do.
get a little surprise in the mail. I hope you enjoy it.
The word that you said is relevant.
Yes.
As an older person, I want to stay relevant.
Yeah.
I want to connect with people.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear what they're doing. I want to share stories. I want to know their lives. Because in the end, we all have stories.
Mm-hmm.
We all have a backstory.
Yeah.
And if you don't own it, which I didn't for a really long time, until I realized it doesn't define me, it's just my story. But it doesn't define me, but it helps shape me
Mm-hmm.
moving forward.
Say that again real quick. It doesn't define me.
But it helps shape me.
I like that. Yeah. That's
My story really helped shape me
mm-hmm.
to who I became. Because as we grow up, we have our parents in us,
Mm-hmm.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you hold on to the negatives and the wounds, that's what you're going to carry forward. If you can identify those and maybe find some of the good things of who they are and what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And make peace with your past.
Right.
My mother had dementia, and I took care of her for many, many years. Thank God I had a husband. It was grueling. I mean, she lived in Florida. I took care of her on every level. And even though it was difficult, in the end, it helped me let go of anger and helped me see this very strong woman deteriorate so badly that I made peace. I made peace.
Mm-hmm.
So we all somehow are called to pick up the baton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That word anger too is just so important to really think about in each person's life, and took me years. Most of my anger was actually directed at myself, and so we have different experiences with parents and leaders and friends and all of that, which I won't get into my story today, but on yours or some other time I'll be happy to share. But mine has mostly been internal anger, but whether it's internal and or external, that is such a key part of working through ourselves to say, I have come to the point, I have peace. It is what it is. This happened. This was what it was in the past, but it's not going to determine my tomorrow. And to make peace with others in our lives, mothers, fathers, co-workers, anybody, especially family, it's such an important part of healing to say, will you forgive me? Not running out to people and say, I forgive you. Because if they didn't ask, then why are you saying I forgive
Right.
you? It's that
Right.
whole, I forgive myself, and will you forgive me? And, you hope that they'll turn around and do that. But a lot of times they don't. They've got to get to their own spot, their own time, on their own path of life. But to find that healing through, like you said, finding peace is so important. Life goes by quick, and it doesn't do any good to hold on to that anger. And the people that did me wrong, it was wrong. It was being principle based like I am. It's easy to hang on to and say they did a bad business deal. Or they treated me wrong, or even just road traffic, road rage. They cut me off. That was wrong. Well, it was wrong, but really, is that why I'm mad, or am I mad because I slept in and didn't get up on time? Am I mad because I don't have discipline in my own life? But to find peace, that's beautiful the way you said that with your mom, and it's so important to encourage others.
Yeah, and everyone's got their own story of what, for me, when I worked at Condé Nast, success was making money.
Yeah.
Because that showed a value to me. I was valued. I made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great.
Yeah.
And, and that was okay. But as I've grown since I left, I think having financial resources is important
Yeah.
to have if you want to live.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Financial resources, nothing more.
Yeah. It's not your identity.
Right, exactly. What we take on an identity because we're told my name is.
Yeah.
But if you have studied Buddhism at all, and I have, and we just are.
Mm-hmm.
We just are. And I remember one quote, which you can live of the world, not in the world. Be of the world, not in the world.
Yeah.
So you stay detached, which is very difficult.
We live in a
You know, we all,
very materialistic world that's easy to get caught up in. And I used to think my car was part of my identity. Oh, believe me, I had some nice cars and all these things, but deep down I was a hurting, a little fragile Tommy boy inside that had a big heart and was tender when I was a kid. But I sure
right,
wasn't like that from my teens until a couple of years ago. I was a pretty tough contractor that had no feelings and never showed any emotion, and it was very damaging to be that off as far as my mindset. And so I'm glad to be in these circles with ladies like you and so many others. Don't change. I love that you're a few years ahead of me on life. I love.
many, but that's
Oh, not
okay.
that many. Come on now. But I
Right,
love that you still are very relevant, and that even when we jumped on that discussion of social media and how you use it for your work. I know you do. You're a coach and a podcast, all the things you do, but then about how we need to have more conversations about us controlling it and not it controlling us. And so
right.
you're very hip, if that's, I don't know the words people are using anymore, but
That's all right.
um,
I love it.
I love that you have seen life in many different capacities than I have. And I think the world needs to, we need to, as a world, as a community, do better at respecting each other. I mean, I learned so much this weekend from a person half my age. I mean, the guy is an absolute genius when it comes to computers and it comes to technology and marketing and branding and all these things. And I'm just like, he's just speaking Mandarin Chinese. It's going right over my head. But he's half my age, and I'm sitting there trying to learn from him. And of course, when the conversation changed to other topics, he was wanting to learn a few things from me on a totally different topic. So I think that's important, to respect each other and pause enough to say, what is the nugget or multiple nuggets that I can give to this person during a conversation? And also, what are some that I could get and really add to my life? And so I think a
But,
lot of us need to do more often.
but I think for you, you give a lot in your struggles and your challenges, yet you took charge because it would have destroyed you worse than maybe it did. And you made a choice. And that's all we have. We have choices.
Right.
We can't control the world. We all think we have control.
Yeah.
We can't. All we can do is control ourselves and our emotions and our choices.
Control one choice at a time, but not the
And
big.
no, but you gave this guy something. You know, we never know what people are going through. And if he could have heard, you know, I made a choice to change my life,
Right.
and I did that. And therein, people can say, Jay, I want to hear more about that. And how can I make changes?
Yeah. I think people need to work better at, I'm just saying overall, lately, because of how much we've changed in society with distractions, we need to do better at attention, giving each other that attention. And if you don't have time to do it, then just don't start in on a conversation if you don't have time to listen. The whole thing of seeing somebody and saying, how you doing? And the quick answer, I'm fine. Well, the reason the person says fine is they're 99.9% sure that even though you ask me how I'm doing, you don't really want to know. You don't have the time, you don't have the bandwidth, you don't have the attention span. We can say ADHD and whatever. I think everybody has a little bit of that, especially with the multitasking craze of phones and everything
Right.
going on, right?
Exactly.
But if we can truly do better at pausing and saying, you know what, this conversation started. I just met this person at the gas station and I said hi, and now we're talking. And you know what? Whether this conversation takes a minute or takes 10 minutes or takes an hour, there's something here that's developing in this relationship with this person I just met at the gas station. But whatever the example is, just pausing enough in life and not grabbing our phone in the middle of that
Oh gosh.
especially the first couple minutes. If I was to meet you, Terry, walking down the street, you're in New York, right? New York City. Okay, so I'm walking by and I'm like, I love your shirt, I love your earrings, whatever. And you say, well, Tom, I like your jacket, and okay, that's great. That's the initial conversation. But if it goes a little further and we're actually talking, and I say, how are you doing, or tell me about yourself, then that fear needs to be. We need to help others overcome the fear of getting real with each other, because a lot of people in this world right now are walking around, they're not fine. They're one choice away from something that could
Right.
be life threatening, whether that's drinking and driving, whether that's drugs, or whether that's suicide. There's a lot of hurting people that they're telling everybody they're fine, but deep down they're not.
Right.
And some of these, they're
Right.
broke, and some of them are millionaires, and some of them are probably billionaires, and they're not fine. But they don't have a safe circle like CLS, or I do a lot with 12-step programs. I do church events. I do a lot of different events where when I sit in these circles, I'm just raw. People say, how you're doing? I'm like, well, here we go. Some days I'm doing great, and other days I'm like, I'm falling apart. I'm dealing with depression. I'm
Yeah.
horrible. I got anxiety. I'm just
Right.
very real. Now I wear my emotions very out there. I let my feelings out there a lot. And the cool thing is it does create our circle. By being ourselves, it creates our circle. But how have you experienced lately your interactions just kind of on a daily basis with people being open or just being, shallow and brief? And how can we do better at that?
Um, I don't have a huge circle of friends, and I keep it that way.
There you go.
But I do connect with most of the people I'm friendly with.
Uh-huh.
Um, and everyone's different, and I accept people.
Mm-hmm.
They're friends. We talk about a lot of different things, and they may not be interested in what I do, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get to talking. Um, I am the person that, if you, my granddaughter calls me the fixer. I always I'm a control freak.
Mm-hmm.
And not with people so much, but environments.
Mm-hmm.
And I go in and I want to fix a situation. Like I introduced a friend of mine, daughter, to this doctor. The doctor didn't follow up with her, and I called the office to find out. I I go out of my way to help people when I can. So that's who I've become.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you're a connector. You hear somebody share a need, and you, in your mind, you think, this person could impact and help you. And so that's being impactful. That's being relevant again. And I think you can do that when you listen. You got to listen enough to a person to pick up on the real need. Because a lot of times it's not in that first couple minutes. It takes a little bit to hear there's something that maybe they're afraid to ask. Maybe they know they need a coach, but they're afraid to say they need a coach because either it's a pride situation. For some, it's a financial decision, of course, and a pride situation. But I think it's beautiful when I hear people that say they do coaching, but they have a coach as well. And my pastor does that. He always has. He says, I have a pastor, and I actually happen to know his pastor, who's 20, 30 years older than him. And so I think that's important in life. We always learn and we always repeat, but never get to a point of like we've arrived. I think that's why
there is no arrival. It's just the journey.
the journey, right?
It's the journey,
Yeah.
you know. It makes stops along the way and it keeps going. And maybe you have to change trains because you've outgrown the train you're on. See, it's the platform. What I say is when you get to a point, and I was telling somebody else this, maybe a client, when we've gotten to a point where we've plateaued, sometimes we don't know it. And then all of a sudden, a platform comes up. And that's the next journey for growth. And you get on that platform and you grow. And then when the universe decides you've reached that platform, another one comes along. And if you're willing to go along with the universe, you can keep growing. And that's what I do. I keep growing. Somebody's watering my my head.
Right. Well, Terry, I know we've got a few minutes on this, but I just have to say, I just feel like I just received a coaching session. I thought we were just doing a podcast, and I'm going to get off this call, and I'm going to be going from trapeze to trapeze, and I'm also going to be changing trains. You've caught me at a good time in life, and I feel like I definitely owe you, not just for being on the Joy Hour podcast, but for speaking into my life. And I don't know if you even realize that, but keep dropping those nuggets in people's lives. Keep coaching. Keep sharing, because
I will.
I've never heard that example either. Or if I have, I've forgot it. But you're on a train, and it's time to.
I just made it up.
Hey, it's great. You're natural at this, but it's so important in life. I'm getting close to 50, and I've got 3 precious kids and a wonderful wife of 21 years, and so thankful for all that's happened in my sobriety journey and finding the real Tom. And I need people like you in my life to drop those nuggets, to give the to challenge me too. Like, it's scary to get on another train if I don't even know where it's going. Like, I seriously, I mean, it looks like a fun train. It's got people on it. I came from an event just now with Amberly Lago, the Unstoppable Success Summit. And what a great group! About 100 people in the room for 2.5 days, and I see the train, I see the people on it, and they're doing amazing things. John Gordon and Ben Newman, and just phenomenal speakers. And of course, everybody there welcomed me, and it was a very good weekend. And I come back, I'm like, I can do that, like that could be me. And then you can have that self-doubt come in and go, no, Tom, you're a contractor. Go get a shovel, get a hammer, do what you do the rest of your life, because that's what you are. You're a Tom the Builder. And that's in my own head.
Tom the Builder.
Oh, I've built a lot of stuff. Thousands of projects, of course, but I don't believe anymore that that's my identity, and that it's my future career going forward. I do feel very called to being a coach, and also I'm a speaker and podcast, all those things. But yeah, seeing that train, it's like, and then the question comes, where is that platform? You can be almost parallel paths sometimes in your life. You're on this train of this career path, you see this other one, but you're like, when? That becomes the question too. When do I actually change? Because for you, for me, I'll speak for myself, it's not a lot of times obvious. Is it this year? Is it next year? How soon do I make the plunge? And I know some people I talk to, they analyze it so long that they never change trains.
Right. That's right.
Others that jump off too fast, and it was too soon, and now they have no income, and they're going, oops, and they got to crawl back humbly to their previous employer and go, will you hire me back? So I think that's important, is to have people that say when or help you.
So one thing, maybe as we wrap up, see, if we possibly work together, I'd be looking at your construction and the building, which you've been doing. And that's out there.
Right.
But what you've started doing is taking that building inside of you. You're building a whole new inner life. You stop the addiction. You're on a new road. So it's like you've now turned your eyes inward. Now you're building in here, in your inner. So you can look at it that, okay, you've built out here, now you're building in here. And where's that going to take you?
Right.
You don't know that right now.
And being in
So
control.
you kind of play off of the two.
For so many years, it's been a control thing, and letting go. It's been beautiful. Couple other thoughts that go through my mind. I'm just looking at the clock and trying to keep it about this hour. We'll have to do this again. And I know we'll see each other this week, of course, on the CLS call. But thank you so much for being on the Joy Hour podcast. And for the audience, I hope that you learned quite a bit about Terry today. She's a phenomenal lady doing so much. And Terry, for any of the audience that would like to learn more about the multiple things you're doing, what's the best way for them to find you?
You can go to my website, trycoaching.com, or they can listen to my podcast, Extraordinary Work, Conversations About Creating Change, on Apple. Or if you want to reach out, Terry@trycoaching.com is my email.
I love
So
it.
we could have a conversation.
I love it. And
So thank you. I've really appreciated this. I've loved this. And maybe you and I can have our own conversation about what's going to take you to the next step.
I know that's going to happen. And whenever you also get that package in the mail and you've used it for a period of time, that's up to you, whether it's a month or however long, I want you to use it. But let me know how that goes for you.
Oh, I
And
will.
then let me know
Absolutely.
when you'd like to do another
I'm
one.
looking forward.
Yeah.
Yay.
Do another one of these together. Also could do multiple things. But I've enjoyed this immensely. It's made for a marvelous Monday.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad we could make it happen.
Yes, and thank you to Cross there in the background making everything work on the technology, because Lord knows I'm not a tech guy. So,
Me neither.
yeah, we need each other.
Thank you.
We definitely need each other, Terry, and I need you, and I hope I can add to your life as well, and I'll see you on the next
You'll see
call.
me on the small screen.
All right. Joy Hour podcast,
care.
we're taking off.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode on the Joy Hour podcast. Don't forget to check out some of our other episodes for more powerful discussions. Want to keep up with new episodes? Be sure to subscribe. And as always, we'd appreciate it if you like, share, and comment your favorite part of this episode right down below.